switching lanes. Ooh, this isn't safe. Johnny Cochran for the lawyer.
And welcome back to the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast. My name's Ish, and on this episode, Matt joins us again. The guest I've had on this pod the most often. He's in town. He's visiting the Bay, and I was able to talk to him a couple days ago, right after the Lakers beat the Bucks without LeBron James. It was a great basketball game. We had a great time watching it. We talked about that game. We talked about the Clippers. We talked about the Premier League, how Liverpool is doing in Klopp's last season as their head coach. We talked a little bit about the Raiders and the draft and where some of these QBs are going to go. And we talked a little bit about the Lakers, and we definitely talked about the Seleccion and how bad they're doing. And we, express our grievances with the whole federation and how down we are on the Seleccion right now. But all of that was on this episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go. I am once again joined with my good friend, Matt. Thank you for, coming through again. Appreciate you.
Thank you, my brother. I'm so happy to be here again. It is literally always my pride and joy when I come to the city to hit the set of Hard to Handle Sports.
You know what I mean? Last time you were here, you had a lot of great takes. Wolves getting relegated. Burnley making Champions League. What was
never
it?
too late. No, I think I said they were going to make 8th, and I was like, maybe Europa League. Oh my god!
Yeah, I remember I took a lot of offense to, the Wolves finishing 7th, their first season back, and not getting no type of hype, and Burnley out of nowhere was getting crazy mad love from you.
Will be probably at the lowest. They'll be battling with Sheffield for those 19-20 positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so sorry to say this, but in 18th, I do think that Wolves will be going down.
But I do think Burnley, Luton, and Nottingham Forest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually feel super strongly that Burnley are going to stay up.
Really?
This new Burnley is not the Burnley of old. I think they're actually going to be... They're one of my teams to really look out for to be surprised team for the season. Not so much in the respect that they're going to be like a team that's fighting for 8th, 9th, or 10th, which, I mean, they potentially could. You're going to watch Burnley, you're going to be like, what happened to Burnley? It looks like a completely different team. Positively, I have Burnley, right?
Okay.
Negatively, I have 2 teams. And I think it's going to be Crystal Palace, and I think it's going to be West Ham.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to the Premier League in a little bit. We literally just finished watching some NBA basketball. We finished watching my Lakers against the Bucks.
That was a great game, dude.
It was a great game.
It was a great game.
Double overtime. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the Lakers, on the Bucks, on the NBA as a whole? Anything you want to get off your chest?
I think,
Clippers 5-game losing streak we could touch on too. I don't know if they played today, but I do know they were going into today with a 5-game losing streak.
No, we didn't play today, thank God, just because it's been horrible as a Clipper fan. And, I can proudly say, and this is not a good thing at all, I knew that this was not going to be a good year for us. And we had that really good month, that stretch, month and a half, 2 months.
You guys went 30-8 at one point.
Dude, we were sick. They were like, oh, since December 1st, the Clippers are the best team in the world type thing. It was just,
I remember
winning games and everything. But I've just never really had faith. Honestly, my thing is just because I've never really believed in James Harden as a superstar. I never really saw him out to be the savior. It was cool watching those 2 months. But genuinely, bro, he folds in the playoffs. And I think ultimately right now we're seeing our team... From a chemistry perspective, it just doesn't look there, which in turn leads to us just not having good, solid, quality play. And it's just been tough, especially with players like Russ going down, just given just the energy that he brings to the team. Right. It's been really, really rough, and I don't really see it getting better. Russ came back yesterday, but we still blew a lead to the Pacers, and they have not been good this year since the new year. So it's tough, man. I really don't have a lot of faith in the Clippers. In terms of your question between the Lakers and the Bucks, I mean... The Lakers have LeBron. Any team that has LeBron is always going to have a fighter's chance to do some damage in the playoffs. So even if they're in the play-in, I can see them knocking somebody out and getting a run, just given the fact that they have LeBron. The Bucks, I mean, they're second in the East right now, behind the Celtics. The Celtics really have to prove it to me because it just seemed like they have what it takes to go all the way. It's just a matter of just staying healthy and really being a cohesive unit down the stretch. And I mean, we'll see how it all goes. The East is the East. The West is going to be a dogfight. The East is really going to be one of the top 3 teams that just ends up making it out, in my opinion.
Right. I see where you're coming from. Quickly on the Clippers, I see your Harden take. I like it. I understand where you're coming from. but he is like playing third fiddle. So it's part of the reason I didn't think he was gonna do anything for the Clippers. Not so much because I don't believe in Harden, which I don't. It's just that at this stage in his career, he's not really a needle mover like that. To be honest, he's not gonna push you over the top. And to be honest, on the Clippers' success or non-success, whatever they do this year, ultimately it will come down to Kawhi and his health. And this team has a hard ceiling if PG is their best player. He has been, and credit to him for being we were arguing what number he was in the NBA off screen a couple of days ago. But if PG-13 is your best player in today's NBA, it's not going to cut it. If Kawhi is not the best player playing like a top 5 player in today's NBA, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
Harden could be playing a little bit better, but ultimately I think it comes down to Kawhi and his health, and just PG-13 being the number 1 right now in the team is just...
Yeah, no, it's tough, right? When your number 1 is admitted that he's a number 2. So, like, he's publicly said himself, right? Paul George is like, I'm a number 2 guy. Like, it took a lot for me to, to admit that and all that stuff. And he's. I think part of the issue too is that overhanging, like that low hanging fruit that the team has is his contract, right? The conversation about like giving him a max. I don't know, man. It's tough. We really put ourselves in this position. We gave ourselves a window to win a championship. It hasn't worked out, and. As frustrating as it is, it's just our history as a team. It's our history as a franchise. I wish we could turn it around, but I just don't have the faith that we do. New stadium, our owner clearly shows the incentive for wanting to win, and I can really appreciate that, but it's just like, dude, it really did feel like these last couple years were our best chances, and so...
And Kawhi was hurt. PG would go down, and it really just... It's just our nature. It's who we are. It's like embedded in our DNA. We shit the bed when the going gets tough, and it's like a tough pill to swallow. But it's Clippers get going.
Yeah, it's just my reality, and I've come to accept it as much as like it pains me. And so I think for me, it's like I've come to expect nothing from this team, and I feel like this sounds so like snobbish because I'm a fan, but like they have to prove something to me because it's just like, bro, I only say that because bro, I've spent my entire life defending this team, right? Like I especially growing up in LA. Obviously, a Laker City, Laker State, if we're like completely honest about it. I spent my entire life defending this team, and it just got to the point where it's exhausting defending a team that consistently just lets me down. They're just habitual backbreakers, and they really have let me down time and time again. I think I really lost it. Like something in my mind snapped as a fan when we blew that the series lead to the Nuggets in the bubble. I remember very vividly sitting in my living room here in San Francisco, coming back off my shift from Apple, getting home and watching them fall apart in front of my eyes. I wasn't upset. I didn't throw a fit. I legitimately sat in my living room and like laughed to myself. I was like, I made this decision to be this fan, and ever since that day, man, I've chosen to never put my faith or put too much stock into the Clippers. Like I'll say it kind of here in passing, like, oh, like they have a good shot to win, but I don't really believe it anymore. And it sucks to say, but it's just my reality, and I'm not afraid to admit that anymore. And that's why I feel like basketball for me, I don't love it the way that I used to. I'm still gonna watch it because I have so much appreciation for so many of these stars, and it's such a high level, such quality basketball that we get to watch. It's just a shame that my team is not one of those teams that's taking part in the high quality action for the majority of the year.
I feel that. I don't feel that, but I can see where you're coming from, just from like what the 10 years or like 7-8 years that the Lakers were trash. You have a whole lifetime, so that's different. But back to the Lakers. Thank you for being so honest and open about the Clippers. I did want to just touch on that real quick. They are in a 5-game scare. They've been struggling since the All-Star game, basically since the turn of the year.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. Anything can happen in the playoffs.
You never know.
If Kawhi gets healthy, you never know. But back to the Lakers, back to the game we just watched. I believe we had 3 players over 25 points. I think it was 33, 29, 29. AD leading the way, and then you got D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves.
Man.
What do you? Can the Lakers do another run like they did last year, where they kind of snuck into the playoffs? No one was really too high on them, and then they just go on a run. They get to the Western Conference Final. Obviously, they were overmatched. It was a close sweep, if there's ever a such thing as a close sweep. It was a close sweep. Every game was went down to the end, but
Yeah.
they were overmatched by the Nuggets. Do you think the Lakers can do something similar this year, or what are you seeing from the Laker as a
I just want to preface this by saying I know that I get a lot of flack in regards to like my stance against the Lakers. You have to understand that this comes from like a place of trauma in the sense of like from ages 5 to 14, maybe 5 to 16 more specifically, like Laker fandom gave me hell. And like, I just don't want them to see happiness. I've never really had an issue with the team. It's always been with their fans. Like they've just made my life so miserable. My sports life as a fan, so miserable. And so because of that, I always will hate their fans, and I'll never really want the team to do well because I don't want their fans to do well. I say all that to say, I think they could have a very similar run to what they had last year, and it's off the back of LeBron being healthy. Because playoff basketball is completely different, right? The pace changes.
rotations get smaller. Referees swallow their
whistle, right? And like things get to go. And I mean, if you have LeBron James, even though he's almost 40 years old, it's year 21. I mean, you'll still have a good shot to make it. His IQ is just off the charts, man. He probably has the highest IQ of any basketball player that's ever existed.
Right.
And you just can never really count him out, even with everything going on. As long as AD shows up, stays healthy, as long as the role players keep doing what they're doing and they show the performance that they had tonight, I don't see why the Lakers couldn't be another Western Conference Finals team. It's just hard to see them getting past the Nuggets again because the Nuggets are so good, but they can, they could definitely knock off some of these younger teams that are ahead of them, especially like some of the teams in the top 4. It's they don't have the playoff pedigree that LeBron or the Lakers for that matter have. So it'll be really interesting, but I mean, you can never just say never with that team, and I do think that they have the opportunity to repeat last year.
Never.
yeah. So we'll see, man. We'll see how they do.
I see where you're coming from. I think the 2 keys, actually in 3 keys, the 3 keys I have for the Lakers to make a deep run. Last year, Austin Reeves did amazing in the first round of the NBA playoffs. I forgot who it was against, Timberwolves maybe? I forgot who it was. But he did great. And in the play-in, he did good too. But then the second round and then the series against the Nuggets, his stats went down. He kind of struggled a little bit. If Austin Reeves is able to just be solid and above average and like be third fiddle like he was in those early rounds last year and maybe carry it a little bit further into the playoffs, second, third round, that's a key. D'Angelo Russell has played amazing since he didn't get traded this year. That trade talk really lit a fire under him. He's never going to be the best defender, but if he could give us 18 points off the bench, maybe not every night, but maybe some days 22, another 14.
Yeah,
but just
spurts.
Just get a little 18 average in there. They can make some noise. Because I think Lakers, the Nuggets were just making everything against us, and sometimes we found it hard to score. And the one takeaway I got from this game, the Bucks, or the main takeaway that gave me hope. If we ever play the Nuggets, which I would, let me just say that I think we're heavy underdogs, and probably 8 out of the 10 series that we play against them, they'll beat us. AD looked like he wanted it today.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, he did.
All over the court. He was blocking Dame, which is he's older now, but it's still tough to block his shots. And he was blocking Giannis too. He was bodying up Giannis.
Yeah.
He was throwing his body around a little bit.
Yeah.
He was making threes, which I don't expect that. I can't even expect that for the playoffs. But if he gets a little bit of physicality today, like he played against Giannis, as he was chasing down Dame Lillard, we got a little bit better than a puncher's chance. Like it comes down to how tough AD holds down the paint. And then obviously LeBron's going to get his. AD for the most part is going to get his. Even though he could be up and down, he's going to average around 21, 22 in the playoffs or maybe more. If Reeves and Russell could give us something and AD plays like he played today, you never know.
No, we'll see, man. I mean, we're getting into that time of the year where it's just that everyone needs to figure out what their 8-man rotation is going to be. And these next 2 weeks are going to be really interesting to watch as a fan that doesn't feel like he really has a true dog in the race. I'm telling you, I just bro, the Clippers really I'm not going up to bat for them, anymore. So
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from.
I'm still such a big basketball fan that I will be watching the playoffs.
I see where you're coming from. I'm not really liking this energy, so let me let me change the pace a little bit. How do you think Liverpool in the Premier League is gonna do. It's a tough race right now. We're about to get back from international break. Thank God. Fuck international break as a Mexico fan. But how do you see this Premier League in this last stretch? You know, you can see the finish line. Every team that's in a position to do anything is seeing that end of the race, whether it's the champion, like to win the league, whether it's top four, staying relegated, staying in the top division, not getting relegated. Everyone is seeing the end of the race right now.
Yeah.
How do you see it playing out?
I think I mean, Liverpool just lost last weekend to United in a really heartbreaking loss in the FA Cup.
I wanted to raise the morale.
Yeah, I know, but I actually say this in a positive light. Like, yeah, like the loss sucked, but it just means we play less games now, which is like the positive that I kind of took away from it. And so because we play less games, because we're in a competition that's not as tough or demanding as the Champions League. I mean, I know the Europa League, all the good teams are kind of in it now, and they are going to be more competitive. I still think Liverpool have a good chance to win that tournament and have a really good shot of like dominating teams in the first leg.
Yeah.
And potentially dominating be like 3-0 win, maybe like a 2-0 win, and they're able to kind of put on some
cruise control
in the second legs and be able to really put forth like the Premier League. And I say all that because I do actually really believe that Liverpool have the best shot out of the three teams. We all play really difficult teams down the stretch. We being Liverpool, Arsenal, City. I just have faith, especially with City losing Kyle Walker and John Stones today during their international friendlies.
I was about to say that, yeah.
They did lose some big pieces, and truthfully, they have some really hard games left to play in the Champions League. So them and Arsenal. So I really do think that because they have those extra games, they will be a little bit more tired, and they will be more susceptible to dropping points along the way. They play each other still, which we're really lucky that's the case. Arsenal City is going to be, I'm really hoping for a tie there. And Liverpool, I think, in my opinion, they control their own destiny. So we've proven that we are capable of winning games, going 10 games without loss, 10 games without dropping points.
Right.
I have faith that this is going to be the team that does it. We did lose Andy Robertson this morning, but in fairness to the team, we played a majority of the season without him. So we already kind of know what that looks like going forward. We got Zemeckis back from health. I mean, we have Joe Gomez, who's been playing unreal. Right. I have a strong belief in Liverpool this year, and I do think that the Klopp factor is pushing us a little extra hard also with him leaving at the end of the season.
100%.
And I just want us to go out with the bang, man. I really do. I really think that we have everything available to us to go out there and make that happen, and I'm confident that that'll be the case. It's not going to be easy, but I really do think that Liverpool will win the Premier League, and truthfully, I think this will probably be like the happiest. I mean, there's not many championships for me to celebrate as a sports fan, but this one would definitely take the cake. This would be the best. I will be crying, and I will be unconsolable for days. I'm so excited for the prospect of that even potentially happening.
Beautiful. Greatly put. With the few games left, is there any pivotal match that you have circled on Liverpool's calendar? And is there a player that you think will be, kind of like an X factor, and that's not like, one of the mainstays like Alisson or, Salah?
Yeah, I mean, because Alisson's hurt, I'm gonna say Kelleher. Kelleher's done a really good job.
Is Alisson? He's not done, right?
No, but he's probably gonna be still hurt for the next couple weeks, which will take us into maybe like a handful of games left in the Premier League.
Yeah. And
so because of that, I'm gonna say Kelleher. Kelleher's been doing such a good job stepping up as his replacement, and genuinely has made a case for himself to be a number one goalkeeper. Maybe like not at Liverpool, just given the fact that Alisson is the best, if not one of the best, if not the best goalkeepers in the world. But he's done so well this season. It's really been great to have him get this opportunity to play the amount of run of games, and he's been instrumental in these last 10, especially like helping us keep clean sheets and get goals off the board. I'm gonna say him, and then I'm also just gonna say Darwin Nunez, because I mean the dude gets 7-8 opportunities a game. It's just a matter of continuing to put them away. He's gotten so much better, and I have so much faith in him as a player. I've genuinely I feel like I've gone so far to like defend him. This stretching back to last year, he had a horrible year, all considering. I mean, the numbers are okay, but given the people the chances, right? Yeah. Like you would expect it to be a lot more. Exactly. So this year he's really turned it around. Obviously, he's still susceptible to the more than occasional miss, especially like on one-on-one opportunities. But dude, the dude is unreal. He's got lightning pace. He's become a real solid playmaker for us, providing 14 assists on the season already.
Right.
So I think we will go as far as Darwin Nunez can take us and lead that front line. And Mo Salah is obviously going to continue to do his part as long as he stays healthy. We already know what he brings, what he provides. So that's why I'm choosing not to highlight his name, just because I already know what he's going to bring. He's going to bring it every week.
Yeah.
We just need Darwin Nunez to be on the opposite end of some of these crosses and be able to finish and just take us to the finish line, and hopefully we're lifting up that trophy come May.
Yeah. That's a great answer. That's kind of what I was looking for, and not so mainstay player that Darwin Nunez. He's kind of a key player, but I see what you mean. Like if he really steps it up in his last 8 weeks left of the season, then you guys will have a really great chance. Any match that you have circled that you're like, okay, this one could be scary.
Yeah, there's a couple at the Tottenham game. I do think we played Tottenham pretty well. I just think, given the history off that first game, I think we're going to come with a serious intensity that I think that they will be looking to match. Yeah. Just given the just so much, that game would just really hurt my soul watching Luis Diaz be marked offside on a clearly onside play. Yeah. But there is just so much controversy surrounding that game on both ends, and I think the way that the managers and the players on the other end kind of answered some of the questions just kind of adds some extra hostility to the game. I think it'll be an opportunity to kind of put those demons to bed, which we should have in the first game. But Tottenham have played particularly well against top 6 side this season. They've been playing decently.
Surprisingly.
Yeah,
no one saw that coming.
Exactly. So they've been playing decently well. And so I'm excited for the game. I'm really hoping that we do our part. But beyond that game, the Aston Villa game is another one. We'll be playing Villa away.
Right.
So, that's been a tough place for teams to go in there and get points this season. So we really got to go and do our part. But I like I said, I have faith that we can win out in the Premier League, and I'm really hoping that we do that.
That's cool. It's cool. Not necessarily the answer I was fishing for, but what do you think about Wolves on the last week of the season at home? You think that one could get a little interesting?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. That one for sure, too, though, like in all seriousness, that one for sure, because I do anticipate the league going down to the final game of the season. And so because of that, there'll be some extra emotion, a lot of intensity.
Klopp's last game.
Yeah, it's going to be super intense. There's going to be a lot of, emotions will be riding high. I'm sure the tackles will be flying in, not just in that game, but the games across City and Arsenal, and I just think that there will be so much anxiety across all 3 pitches that it's just going to make for a really interesting final day.
And Wolves could play with anybody this year,
they can, man. I actually feel like I was going to say I feel like this would be a perfect pivot and the perfect opportunity for me to apologize to you and to the Wolves massive. And I never really meant it as a form of disrespect, because like you and I have talked about it. I've always enjoyed watching Wolves play. Yeah. I've enjoyed Molineux. I've enjoyed the community that's there and the atmosphere that they're able to create. Yeah. Going back to it, I really did think that because they had just fired their manager days before the season with no signings going in, I was just like, dude, like
they're cooked.
Yeah, I really thought that was it, and I can say happily that I was wrong. Yeah, right, because I did say I was like, this is relegation fodder here. Yeah. But they've proven me wrong. Gary O'Neill's clearly proven that the players have bought into what he's selling, and Molineux is doing Molineux things, because everyone knows like when Wolves are playing and when Wolves are playing to the level that we can expect from them, they give an amazing support to the rest of the team, and I think it's really carried them through the season.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to get a little wolf action in there. It would be crazy if Wolves spoil it for you guys in the last week.
You never know, man. The Premier League is crazy. It's not. Yeah, that would suck extra hard, especially considering the fact that I started the season by saying they're getting relegated, and that'd be the team that knocks us off.
That would be insane.
Yeah, that would hurt.
Not to get sappy or anything, but because you're in a title race, I feel like Klopp last few weeks as manager is kind of getting overlooked. It's a talking point, but more as a positive, as like they're getting pushed. But as a Liverpool fan, have you taken any time to really think about like, damn, this is really it? Or is everything just getting caught up in the title race where you're like the main? Because I think it's good in a way, because if you guys weren't in the title race, it would just be like, damn, this is how it's gonna end. He's really gone. We're kind of just finishing out the season.
No, it sucks, bro. It's funny. My grandpa called me the other day, and he knows I'm a massive Liverpool fan. And he was just like, well, how does it feel? And I was like, honestly, I haven't really sat back and thought about it too much. And he was just like, my grandfather's obviously known me my entire life. And so he's well aware of the teams that I support and the lack of winning just that's come into my life as a fan. And so he was just like, how does it feel? Like this coach that, this basically one of the newer teams that you supported, because I did choose him like coming into college.
Yeah.
He's just like, this is kind of the only coach you've ever known at Liverpool. And I was like, dude, you're going to make me cry. I was like, why would you say that to me? Because it is, man. He's the only coach I've ever really known at Liverpool. I became a fan when they had a preseason game playing Chelsea at the Rose Bowl in LA. And no, I mean, it's going to be incredibly difficult. I'm for sure going to cry my eyes out, bro, just because... Man, what a great coach. I mean, he really embodies the city. And, dude, I can only imagine what the people of Liverpool really feel and the emotion that they feel going into it, because this is how I feel living thousands and thousands of miles away from the city itself. But he's really done so much to support the local community and really change the energy, not just around the club, but the city. And so it'll really, really suck because he's completely transformed the club. And there's not exactly a certainty that whoever steps up next is going to be able to continue with the same energy and provide that same level of support to the city and provide that level of just energy, I want to say, really, because it is different, man. Like there's not a lot of managers that can create what he's created. And so
he has like his own like aura.
Yeah. And it's going to be tough, brother. Like, it's going to be really, really tough. I even told Olivia, I was just like, I feel like that's one of the few people in my life where, like, if I saw him in real life, I'd be like, fuck. Like, I want to shake your hand.
Like,
Like,
starstruck,
but like, bro, like almost like teary eyed.
like respect, like
bro, like you have no idea. Like you have no idea, like what you mean to me, like as a sports fan, like what you've done
as
for
a
me.
person.
Yeah, so it's like, man, it's gonna be tough. It'll be really, really tough. Like I'm almost like want to tear up right now thinking about it. But
is it tougher than watching Mexico play?
That's the one that really makes me cry. Actually, that one really makes me cry in real life. I'm not even joking to you. I sit down and I think to myself, I'm like, this is horrible. Like this is not even Jurgen Klopp can come in here and fix this situation. Like it is. I mean, I'll let you kind of speak on it because, bro, like I'll really blow a gasket sitting at this table thinking about just the current state of it all.
Right.
And bro, I mean, it's just so bad. It is
it's so
bad.
So on the last episode that I had with Travel Football Fan, if you guys haven't seen it, make sure to watch it. YouTube, Spotify, all of that. I basically said, if you were to just create a country right now out of thin air, and you were like, their number one sport, is gonna have a huge population, right? Huge population. All the population is pretty much gonna watch soccer, play soccer, or be in some way connected to soccer. It's really the only sport they're gonna really participate in. Like there's gonna be some boxers and some swimmers and some runners, some baseball players here and there. For the most part, soccer's the one and only sport.
Yep, agreed.
Their capital is gonna have more of a population than some countries. They're gonna have a pretty decent league, one of the best in the Americas. Doesn't compete against Europe, but makes a lot of money. Competes with the Europe teams in terms of making money.
Yeah, revenue.
Yeah. And they play in a weak region. They're always gonna have basically a guaranteed spot in the World Cup. If I told you all of those things, you'd be like, damn, that's the only sport they focus on. They have a massive population. They have a successful league that
surely they can find 11 players.
Yeah, surely they could find. Surely they're gonna be making quarterfinals, finals, semifinals in the World Cup, and it's just not the case. And so it kind of like, if you break it down in that point, it kind of feels like you actively have to be trying to do treason against your own soccer federation for it to happen like that. Like if you just break it down like that, population. Like how interested the nation is on it, how many players participate in it, the player pool, like the potential player pool, all of that. If you just break it down like that, you look at Mexico and you're like, bro, you gotta put it. There's no way this nation should not be just dominating or like doing great. And even if we're not great, they should at least be competent and good. And it's just, we're not even that, dude. We're not even that. And it's just, I mean, you could blame the players, you could blame the coaches, but it's much more than that. Like,
no, I mean, it's just a topic. I mean, we talk about it 3 times a week, 4 times a week, like in our group chats and everything.
Yeah.
And I look back at that night that I was just so drunk and I was telling you, I was just like, we're only 4 players away from being a very serious team in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what I was drinking that night, bro. Because like, if you watch just our recent performances, it is so disappointing. It's so heartbreaking, and honestly, it's demoralizing. And I feel like I've been using the word demoralizing as the perfect, like, it's really the perfect word to use for this, because every game that goes by that we watch, I feel less and less interested, less and less confident that we're headed in the right direction. And it's just like, at what point we fired the coach, right? We just fired the other coach last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, he had to go. There is no question. No, there if, ands, or buts. There had to go. Fired the coach before that for the same reason. If, ands, or buts, he had to go.
Yep.
It gets to the point where, like, okay, the coaches, we're trying.
Yeah.
Some players we're trying. Obviously, the players need a fresh thing of recycling, but we've talked about the fact that the buck stops at the federation, and
the system is
it's just not working. It's just it's literally the definition of insanity. We're trying the same thing over and over and over again.
It's rotten at the core. It's rotten at the core. So like, you try to build anything on top of it, it's just gonna collapse.
Right. And so, I mean, when we look at it from a very serious perspective, part of it does have to do with the league, right? And here's what I mean by that is that these teams put unrealistic pricing evaluations on their players, which does not allow them to be bought out by teams. Now, I'm not even saying Europe, bro, because they can go to South America and develop, and then they can go from South America to Europe, but they don't leave Mexico because these teams put unrealistic evaluations on these players that these teams will just not pay, and they know they won't pay that. And also, these teams will come back and offer these players contracts. They, like you said, they're very well compensated for.
Yeah.
In terms of revenue, they do very, very well. They
very well.
do better than some European leagues.
Yep, they do.
And so, and it has to do, again, with the population. It has to do with the TV deals. It has to do with a lot of these different factors at play. At the end of the day, if we're not sending these players to get better, and they stay in our league, and they stay, and their development is just stagnant, we cannot expect these players to then go to the national, like international level, and start to develop there. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we need to come to some sort of agreement, we being the federation, with the league, with the national team as a whole, and have some sort of understanding that we're not going to get better until these players leave here. Right. And so these teams, these teams will give these guys these contracts. And so this is not just them. The players have to be willing to want to get better themselves.
Yep.
And that just doesn't feel like it's happening because they're so well compensated for, because these guys are making $90,000 a week, $100,000 a week in some cases. And they're so comfortable because they get to stay home that they're not willing to risk
I mean, it's basically like the chicken and the egg. Because we're not sending enough people, the people that do get sent out, they get complacent. They get treated like stars. They feel irreplaceable. They get to like hold the selección hostage. They get to like demand a certain amount of things. They get to be like, oh, if you don't start me, I won't show up to the national team. And it's all like, it wouldn't be like this if we had more of a player pool. If instead of becoming like a right and like putting my foot down, like I got to be a starter, it became a competition. Yep. It's like, oh, you don't want to come? Like, bro, we got like 20, 30 player pool that we could call up. We got, 20 in La Liga, 10 or 15 in the Premier League, a couple in the, the Dutch league, a couple in the French league. Like, all right, you want to throw your little tantrum? We got enough players, and it's just we
just don't have that.
It's a whole thing. Like, we don't have enough. We don't send players over there. The few that do, they get on their high horse. They demand. They hold the selección hostage, and then it's just it's a cycle. It's a cycle,
and it stays the same all the time, and it just really does suck. Like, Luis Chavez wanted to leave so bad, right? Yeah. He wanted to leave so bad to the point where he had to buy himself out of his own contract to leave to Russia, and that's Russia. No disrespect to the league that's going on over there, but if you're comparing it to just any of the other European leagues, it's not the same. But he wanted it so bad that he literally had to pay himself. Right. He had to buy out his contract in order to go, because the team and the league were not willing to accept less than what the unrealistic valuation they put on him to go and you can't knock the man for wanting better for himself.
Yeah.
And your inability to allow him to leave is not just hindering himself, it's hindering the team, because he is one of the star players in the midfield, right? Star being a stretch, but he is a good player, right? He does do well. He did have that moment at the World Cup. But let's be real. I really thought when we got knocked out of the World Cup that it was going to be a wake-up call to the fact that, hey, something is really not working out here.
Exactly.
And it wasn't. It's gotten worse. It's gotten worse, and it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. There's no way that you can actually look at this team, look at this coach, look at this federation, and think to yourself, wow, like something is happening here. We just got beat by the United States again. It's the third year in a row. Granted, the tournament doesn't really mean dick.
It's a farce.
But still, bro, it's just a matter of having pride and wanting to win that game. Look, you have to look at the fact that the United States was willing to look at themselves in the mirror. This all happened when Jurgen Klinsmann, and the players and the fans, they didn't like him for whatever reason, but he was right. He was right when he said that these players are not good enough. They need to go out there. They need to get more experience. They need to get better, and they did. The players over time started to do that. These teams were willing, these MLS teams, wherever these players came from, they were willing to let these players go to develop. And look, as a matter of fact, most of those teams, you look at most of those players, a good chunk of them play in Europe.
Yeah.
And they're clearly better than us, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Clearly better than us.
I'll say this, though. Mexico's clear incompetence and lack of skill and players or anything, it's not a direct correlation with the U.S. being good.
No.
Or like them,
No.
they're not going to, or like them guaranteeing their success. Like the U.S. has its own problems. Like I support them too. I obviously support Mexico first because I feel more Mexican. But, you know, the U.S. was just about to lose to Jamaica. Like, let's not pretend like it's all roses over there.
Absolutely.
Which makes it worse when Mexico's getting beaten by them. Because the U.S. might squander their golden generation too. Like this, just because they're beating Mexico doesn't mean that they're taking the advantage of.
Beating shit does not make it any better.
Yeah, exactly. So like the U.S. like I understand that U.S. fans and U.S. soccer feels great that they're punking Mexico because historically Mexico has punked them, but they shouldn't be worried about Mexico right now. Like the U.S. really has potential to do big things. Like their player pool, their talent. Reina is a real talent. Pulisic is real talent. Des, when he wants to, is a real talent. But let's get back to Mexico. I think right now the problem with the national team is so noticeable because the talent sucks. So like the next talent never came through. So this talent is just trash. But like these issues have been there forever. Like we wasted our own golden generation because of these same problems. The player we had Giovanni at Barcelona, Tottenham, even Galatasaray, even back to Villarreal. We had his brother. We had Efrain Juarez. We had Guardado. We had the Endo Rafas. We had Vela. We had Moreno. We had Massa. We had Pardo. This was Vela Orozco
too. Vela was the third leading scorer behind Messi and Ronaldo.
Yep. He was voted the third striker at one point behind Ronaldo and Suarez, right?
Yeah.
So like Mexico had a kind of like a similar generation as the U.S. and we
Squandered it.
We squandered it, yes. So that goes without being said. Like this has been a long problem, and the fans do have some blame to it, namely you, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
Like the World Cup happened, and then Mexico won the Gold Cup, and then everybody was on the Lamborghini.
Yeah.
That's when you dropped the Mexico's a couple players from being elite. Everybody thought the group chat was ready to say that we're back, and I was like, dude, what has changed? We won this plastic Gold Cup. Like nothing has really changed. Like there's still no relegation on Liga MX. There's still not players getting sent out. Like nothing has really changed. We just got lucky in a meaningless Gold Cup with the USA B team. And nothing changed, but like, I feel like Mexicans as a whole, and I'll generalize. Fuck it, I don't give a fuck. We like being hopeful. We like thinking that shit has changed. And like I said, we're such a passionate country for soccer. So whenever we get a little bit of positive results, we're suckers. We're right back in there. We're there supporting with our pom poms, and then nothing changes. Nothing changes, and I think the federation knows that. The federation knows that. Look, we lost to the U.S. in 3 finals. We haven't beaten them since 2019. But if for some odd reason, which is not like too odd, like the Mexico group is pretty weak in the Copa America. Venezuela has been playing a little better. There's some other teams that could scare us, but realistically, Mexico could get out of that as first. They could realistically, if they play good, they realistically could win even like one knockout game in the Copa America. Now you're in the second knockout game. You play kind of competitive, which Mexico usually plays up to the talent sometimes. And then they wipe their hands. They're right back at it. You know what? Decent Copa America. Even if they don't win the first knockout game, even if they just win the group, they play competitive match in the knockout round. Look at the fans. They're satisfied. Everything's good. You know, yeah. No relegation. Let's keep raising the value of these teams. And we're good. And, you know, I'm a culprit too, because I'm gonna go see them in Copa America.
I mean, I will too. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's such a fair criticism, and like I am like willing to accept that, because like I think it does go back to the point that you're saying. You're like, yeah, we're very hopeful. We get a little bit of little bit of a taste of glory, and we're like, this is amazing. We're back. Like, we're on the road to it, and it's just not the truth. Right? Yeah. We just end up falling flat on our face when we do end up finding ourselves in deeper competitions and things of that nature. And it is tough though, bro, because there has to be like. What do you want us to do? Like, not support them, right? But like I have to go out there, like, support them. Like, I can't really ever see myself not wanting them to win.
Yes,
but there needs to become like a point in time where, like,
you know what it makes it? It makes it like, it just makes the federation look evil.
Yeah,
like, because they got us wrapped around their finger, and instead of like appreciating the fans, and, you know, just analyzing, taking a step back and analyzing. All right, maybe if we do these changes, we'll lose a little bit of money. No matter what, they're always going to make money. The Mexican Seleccion is a cash cow. Yep. So if they do some changes that could potentially help the national team and take a little bit out of their pockets, not even like a lot, because Mexico is always going to make money with their Seleccion. But if they just, you know, take a little bit of money out of their pockets, you know, send their players, like, just take a little greed out of it and just do something for the fans for once, then it could go a long way. But it just makes it, they're evil. They know that they know they got us wrapped around their finger. They know they have a massive Mexican population in the U.S. that feels disconnected from the country for whatever reason. If you're an immigrant, you can't go back. You know, seeing the Seleccion sometimes is
a taste of home.
Is your way of going home. Exactly, it's your way to connect with the people back home. If you're a first gen, everyone deals with the I'm not from there, I'm not from here. You know, it's like a lost identity. Going to Mexico, buying a jersey, seeing a game in person is what makes you feel like, okay, you know what? We're all one right now. I really feel Mexican right now. And they know that. They know they got a huge population at home that loves soccer. They got a huge population in the US that wants to feel connected to Mexico. And, you know, they play us.
And they take advantage of it. Yep.
Take advantage of it.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a shame, brother, because like just to your point, like going back to just the original point, there's so many people that come from Mexico, or like even if they are born here in the United States, that are Mexican, from Mexican born parents. You mean to tell me we can't find 11 people?
11, dude, 11. Like I said, like if you could, like how you say, like if you were to build like the perfect quarterback, you know, 6'5", strong arm. Peyton Manning's or Brady brain, you know, Vic's agility, or, you know, Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Like if you were to build a
soccer country,
it would be kind of close to Mexico.
Yeah,
your home stadium is an elevation. You got a home advantage. Like huge population. Everyone loves soccer. Like kids play it from 3 till they fucking die,
until their legs can't let them play anymore.
Exactly. And it just sucks that we suck.
Yeah, no, it really does hurt. But it's funny that you mentioned the perfect quarterback builds, because I have so many ideas in my mind of like what the Raiders could use at quarterback next season. Yeah, what do you we were talking about the draft. Raiders are at 13, lucky number 13, right? Do you see yourself as the Raiders moving up in the draft from 13 to, let's say, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7? Or do you see yourself maybe just waiting in the later rounds, looking for your own 13, like Brock Purdy, maybe a diamond in the rough? I've been so like busy just reading and staying informed, like what it seems like the Raiders are going to potentially do, because I just want us to be competitive. Like I really want us just to be a team, and it really feels like off the back of last season that we have the momentum going that way, that we really could be a competitive team. I think our identity now is going to be defensive. Like we have a really good foundation for us to build on now, right. But we are missing the quarterback piece, right? And this is a quarterback-driven league. And so I say all that to say, like, I would like to see the Raiders move up, but it's a really difficult like pathway to do that, because it really does seem like 1, 2, and 3. 1, we already know. Don't even need to talk about it. 2 and 3. They both really need quarterbacks.
Right.
But they also need a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And so they could be in the position themselves to want to trade out and accumulate draft picks both this year, next year, and the following to try to build out their teams. But we're not the only team from 1 to 13 that needs a quarterback. Right. So we have to outbid, and I'm looking like specifically to the Vikings, who have 2 firsts this year, a first next year, a second, and multiple seconds to be able to offer. And it's hard to think that we could potentially offer more than they can to move up to one of those 2 spots.
Yep.
And realistically, I feel like the Raiders, just for the last couple months and the connection between Jaden Daniels and Antonio Pierce and all the chatter around that, it really sounds like that's the guy that they want to go after. And that's the guy that I personally would like to have them go after, just given that the relationship and given that history between the two. Like there's a clear foundation of respect and he was in our locker room the last game of the season, right? You know, just in there watching us celebrate a good end to the year. I would love for that to happen. I would love for that to be the case. It's just really hard. It's really hard for me to see us giving up more than what the Vikings can, because you know, the Vikings, like we said, they have the picks that they have, and it's a far more enticing deal than what I think the Raiders can and are willing to offer.
Right.
With that being said, I think maybe 3 could be a possibility. Us moving up to 3, we're still going to have to, you know, move heaven and earth to get there.
Right.
But if it was up to me, I would really like for the Raiders to move up and draft a quarterback. I liked Aiden O'Connell last year. He was kind of put in a difficult position, didn't take off-season reps as a starter. He was behind Jimmy Garoppolo, who was a horrible quarterback from the start, just because that was a horrible decision for management. Who we did not have a great general manager. We had a horrible head coach that just made horrible decisions for us. I'm so glad he's fired. I hope you never see happiness again, Josh McDaniels. I fucking hate you, and I really hope that you actually listen to this. There's no way that happens, but I genuinely hate you as a human being, and I almost hate no one on this earth. I wish you nothing but the worst. Anyway, going back to it, I could see the Raiders potentially drafting up to 3, but that probably puts us in a position to draft who I think is the third best prospect, J.J. McCarthy. But it's like, how much are you really willing to move up to get him, especially with all the, you know, the I don't want to say the red flags, but there are, you know, there are really concerns, and there are valid points brought up just surrounding him. Like, yes, like he is a national championship quarterback, but they're not. It wasn't because of him that they won the national championship, you know, so. From everything that I've read, everything that I've seen, he does seem like a good quarterback. But good quarterbacks don't win you Super Bowls. Good quarterbacks don't even win you division titles. And there's not a guarantee that having to move up from 13 to 3 to go get him, we're definitely going to have to give up that. It could be worth the sacrifice. But I do think that if the Raiders evaluate him and they think that he's worth the pick, then they should do it. But we will ultimately see what they want to do. I'd like to go see us get a quarterback. If the price to get up there is unreasonable, then I actually think we should move back, draft an offensive tackle, and potentially look to get Michael Penix in the second round, which would be really difficult considering he's a lefty. We'd have to switch everything offensively from left to right. And it makes it really, really hard. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's clearly a very talented player. There's obviously some red flags regarding his injury history.
Right.
But if they feel confident in him, I want that to happen. If not, I mean, we can look at Spencer Rattler maybe in the second or the third round. But Raiders need to go get a quarterback for the future. Because right now, as it stands, our quarterback room is just not good enough to help us get over the hump that is the Kansas City Chiefs. And
I think you guys are at least a couple years away from, you know, getting over that hump.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we played them really well. Obviously, we were the last team to beat them, which was great. I mean, so in some way, it's just like I felt like we kind of influenced their change in energy.
Probably did.
And
there's no direct correlation though between beating them and surpassing them as like
absolutely not.
Surpassing them means you're surpassing the dynasty.
Absolutely,
so it's a big ass.
No, huge.
A lot of Raider fans take that too far, that victory. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, like we beat them, now we could beat the division. I'm like,
No.
I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
no.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You're going a little too far there, Chief. It means you guys have the potential to play good. And if things fall right, you guys could potentially maybe squeak into the wild card. That's what that means.
Yep.
It shows that your ceiling is high. But to say that,
yeah, no, that's nuts. And honestly, any Raider fan that thinks that is just so incorrect. Just because, like, it honestly hurts me sometimes. Like because I'm such a massive part of Raider Twitter. I read it, I write it, I'm in it every day.
Yeah,
we are one of the dumbest fan bases on the internet, and like it literally pains me to read some of the things that get said on the internet every day. But I mean, we do, like you said, we have really good pieces in place.
Yeah.
But until we figure out what we're doing with quarterback, I mean, even if we have a really good quarterback, Patrick Mahomes is still in our division. That dude is probably going to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yep.
We have to find a way to not just beat them, but beat everybody else that's on the calendar too.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, the Raiders, I'm happy. I feel confident that we are actually really taking the step in the right direction for once, and we have an identity that we can build around, and a culture that's strong, and that really brings me a lot of pride and happiness. But I mean, we have to win. We have to start winning. We have to build on the momentum, and I just want us to start doing that through the draft.
Right. The way I look at the draft, I think there's like two pivotal points. If either the Commanders or the Patriots don't take a quarterback, I think it's the teams that do need quarterbacks, they're gonna go for that fourth or fifth. Like they're gonna be hitting up the Chargers.
Yeah,
they're gonna be making some deals. I do think the Commanders and the Patriots should take quarterbacks, but maybe the Patriots don't. Maybe the Commanders don't. But I think it's a higher chance that the Patriots go Marvin Harrison and then they do something crazy. Who knows anymore with the Patriots? And I will say this. You guys have pressure to go get a quarterback, but the Vikings have the most pressure because they're paying their tight end a lot of money, Hawkinson. They gotta make sure they keep JJ. They gotta keep him happy. So I think they're the team that has the most pressure to go do something.
Yeah,
it would have been them and the Falcons. The Falcons got Cousins. Now it's the Vikings. The Vikings need to keep JJ. They need to make him happy. They're loaded on offense. They need to go get someone to throw them the ball.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders team's pretty young. Other than, I mean, Devontae Adams is getting old, but like eventually, I don't think he's going to be part of the winning Raiders.
Yeah.
As unfortunate as it sounds, he's kind of like,
sucks.
He, I think he's still great. He's still a top 10 wide receiver, I'd say. But I think his role is going to switch from being like the star player to being like a transitioning star that helps them learn how to win and then guide the next generation of Raiders into hopefully, contenders.
Yeah, I think it really does help that he was like a lifelong Raider fan. It does help that his family's on the West Coast because, like you said, his contract is coming down over the next couple years, and I would like him to stay here because, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. You know, he's an incredible. I think he's number 5, like in terms of wide receiver. I mean, it's obviously he's on the decline, just given his age and also just our quarterback play, which is our fault. Like we have to accept responsibility in his decline. It has nothing to do with him. It's really just us because he's open. Like he was open. He's open all the time, and we just don't have the right pieces to get him the ball. And so I'm really hoping we can do right by him because he made a huge decision to leave Green Bay in the way that he did, especially with the way that they're looking now. And so I want him to kind of be repaid for the sacrifice and the chance that he took with the Raiders. I want the same with Max Crosby. Like I feel like we have some players where I'm like, dude, like this is like generational talent in some cases that you just cannot waste. And I just really want us to do right by them because I really do feel strongly that we are building something, right? We are moving in the right direction, and it sounds like you kind of acknowledge it too. Granted, like you're saying, like we're a couple years away from something more competitive. I'm just sick of losing, for a team that's motto is just win, baby. The only thing we fucking know is losing. So I want us to change that for the players that play, for the players that have signed and made the decisions to be long-term Raiders. But honestly, for the fans, man, because like more than anything, I feel like we're one of like the most deserving fans in the league. Like we stand by the team. Year in, year out, and you just cannot say that about other teams. You can't say that about the Niners. I was out here when you guys were garbage. I remember how empty Levi's was. Niner faithful is not that faithful. You're faithful when you're winning. It's only gang, like bang bang Niner gang when you have a winning record. The Raiders stick by their team week in, week out, season by season, regardless what the win and loss records look like. Right. And so I just want us to kind of get compensated for the amount of commitment we kind of have to this team, and I want there to be a recommitment to excellence, and it does feel like we're taking the step in the right direction, and I'm just hoping that we capitalize on this momentum that we're building, because I do have faith that we can be what we used to be, and that's great.
That Pierce is the guy.
Yeah, I have faith, man. Like dude, like that's another one of those guys where I'm like, dude, I would love just to meet this guy, just give me the energy,
like
and
your
like,
bro.
yeah, like my brother. I mean, my brother gets to meet everybody, right? But, like, I know my brother was really excited to meet him too. My brother doesn't really get starstruck, just given the fact that this dude runs into somebody every other week.
Yeah.
But that was one where he was just like, oh man, like I was so hyped, and it's because of the fact that he's really, given us a fresh breath of life as Raider fans and as a Raider organization.
Right. I see that. And I mean, when I say that they're a couple years away, I don't mean that as a diss.
No.
For most teams that make that jump, is because they get a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like you could add talent, you could stay stagnant. You could add talent and stay stagnant between like 6 to 9, 6 to 10 wins. Like no matter how much talent you get, like it's really the quarterback that takes you to the next level.
Absolutely.
Like. Yeah, you could get a great coach. You could have a good defense. But if you don't have that quarterback, pulling all the strings, it's hard to get those 6, 7 wins to 10, 11 wins. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. No, I didn't take it as a slight to the Raiders or anything like that. I think that was a super fair assessment. I mean, we had the opportunity to make the potential wild card. It was in our hands, and we let it fumble. Again, it does go back to quarterback play and everything like that. But a better quarterback is definitely the difference between 3 to 4 losses that could be wins. And so here's just to hoping that next year is different, whether it be the AOC does take a huge step in his development as a quarterback if we don't select one. But I'm really hoping that we do have a change in scenery and we add some serious competition to that quarterback room right now.
No, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. This is one of the drafts that is gonna change the NFL a lot, especially with the quarterbacks. 4 to 5 new quarterbacks is gonna be a whole different NFL. Here's to the Raiders, hopefully hitting on their draft pick. They're not known for doing that, but this might be the year. Maybe in a sense, trading up a couple, 2 or 3 first-round picks to take a swing at it. If you're already gonna miss at them, regardless, might as well package 3 and take a bigger bigger swing at it.
Yeah. They can't be bust if they're not first-round picks.
Yeah, we don't have first-round picks. How could we get bust?
Yeah,
what I mean?
Can't screw it up if you don't have any first-round picks.
Yeah.
Nah, I hear that's totally fair. That's totally fair. That's hilarious. No, but you're right.
Yeah. But man, thank you, Matt, for coming to the pod. I think I was trying to cheer you up with the Liverpool, and then you started talking about Klopp, and it went a little low. But we were able to bring it back up, and I hope the Raiders bring your morale all the way up. I hope they're able to. Raiders. That hurt my ears. Yeah. But anyways, thank you, Matt, for coming to the pod, man. It's always a pleasure. Anytime you're in the Bay, in the area,
sliding,
always
bro.
stop by.
No, I'm super happy. Thankful again. Thank you again, and thank you everybody that listens. Make sure you guys keep listening to this dude because he keeps putting the work in and he deserves it. Right on.
Peace.
When I slide, no sudden moves. All my goons are stretching. And I'm taxing for the feet on my damn collections.